Welcome everybody to the Fanmouth Daily Fantasy Baseball Breakdown for Friday, June the 13th. I'm Joe Marsh, joined today by Dave Del Grande. How you doing, Dave?
I'm looking forward to tonight. Big night.
Yeah, we got a big slate of games, got some good matchups. We'll go through, we'll tell you by position who we like, give you some advice, help you build your lineup, and have a little fun. Starting with pitchers. There's two heavyweights to consider tonight, Hernandez and Kershaw. And I think you can't really afford both of them, but I don't think that's too much of a problem because there's a couple cheaper guys to pair them with that I think are good options. I'm going to give the slight edge to Kershaw. Nothing wrong with Hernandez, but Kershaw I think maybe has a a chance to get a bit of a higher K rate. He struck out 9 in 6 of his last 7 games, giving up a 220 batting average at home, and he's facing the Diamondbacks, who hit very well against him last time out. I think he's going to want a bit of revenge against them. I think he's going to be in for a big game tonight. To pair with him, there's a couple options. Bartolo Colon, I'm going against the Padres right now until it blows up in my face. It hasn't yet for the past few games. The way they're hitting, 146 as a team in June, averaging 1.7 runs per game for the month. Last in the league in runs, batting average, on-base percentage. And Colon actually has pitched well lately. He's allowed 5 earned runs total over his last 4 starts combined. So I think that's a good spot. I really don't mind at this point going against the Padres. The other way you could go would be Colin McHugh, a bit of a higher K rate, 9.9 strikeouts per 9. Same thing, he's allowed 5 earned runs over his last 4 starts, so he's pitching well. He's facing the ice-cold Rays, who have scored 3 runs in their last 4 games combined. They're hitting 236 against lefties and 227 in June. So any way you break down those 4 pitchers, you compare either of those high-price guys with either of those lower-price guys, save yourself a bit of money, and I think you're going to put yourself in a good position as far as pitching goes. Dave, what do you think?
I agree. I think that you hit on the 4 obvious choices tonight, and the lower price guys are such obvious choices that I'm not sure why you would consider the high price guys. You're right that Kershaw and Hernandez are both outstanding. They both have good matchups. I actually prefer Hernandez slightly. Arizona's been hitting left-handers pretty well. Arizona's got the better pitcher going tonight, I think, better than what Texas has going. So I gave Hernandez the slight edge there. But that said, man, Colon against San Diego at home, that's a great matchup. McHugh at home against Tampa Bay. You mentioned Tampa Bay can't hit at all lately, and Houston's playing very well. That's a great matchup. They may not have the high end potential that Kershaw and Hernandez have, but you're saving probably 10,000 or more total, between those two guys. That buys you a lot better hitting lineup. So I'm pretty sure I'm going to pass on both of the big heavyweight guys and go with the middleweights tonight.
Yeah, I see McHugh as a guy with a decent upside. He does, like I said, just under 10 strikeouts per 9 innings. I mean, he's capable of putting up a double-digit strikeout game. So maybe not, the crazy upside of Kershaw, but I think there's plenty of upside given his price. So I don't think he's ever really a bad play. But I think we agree. I mean, pick between those guys if you want to spend a little more and play it safe. If you have some spots to save offensively, then you can afford the higher price guys. If you end up going with 2 of the lower price guys, I don't think you're in too bad of a position, but pretty much we agree on the same 4 guys.
And something that I would say, you make a good point there, is tonight might be a night to do your lineup first and then do your pitchers, because I'm not sure there are a whole lot of real high-priced hitters that you're going to want in your lineup tonight. One of the big mistakes people make is that, well, I've got money to spend on my hitters. I'm going to spend it on the highest-priced guys, not realizing that some of the cheaper guys are better options. I would say do your lineup tonight. Don't worry about the prices. And then if it turns out you can afford the heavyweights, one of them or maybe even 2, unlikely, but at least one of them, then go that way. But if you do have some higher priced hitters and now you need to save some money and need to go with those 2 middleweight guys, heck, I even think there's one really cheap option out there tonight that's worth considering if you have to really stoop to that level. But my suggestion would be do the lineup first.
All right, let's jump into your lineup here. Who do you like at catcher?
Well, I like some guys. I'm not crazy about any of them. One of the matchups I'd like to get some exposure to tonight is Boston's left-handed hitters against Masterson. Masterson's had a pretty terrible season. He has been doing better lately, but this game's at Boston. Boston does have some lefties that are hitting well. Pierzynski is an offensive-minded catcher, a guy that can homer at this ballpark in a game like this. He's a decent price, so he's probably going to be my catcher tonight.
That's a good call. I like Mesoraco. He's hit all 9 of his home runs off of right-handed pitchers, hitting 352 on the road. And facing Garza, he's given up 5 home runs this year to right-handers. I think he's probably one of the top offensive plays at catcher. Moving over to first base. Now, I'm with you on Boston's lefties. I do like David Ortiz. I gave a slight edge, though, in that category to Albert Pujols. 11 home runs this year off of right-handed pitchers. Has a good history against Harang, hitting 342, 5 home runs in 79 at-bats. And then the big play here, I was debating for my home run picks. This is more of the riskier pick, would be Adam Dunn. You look at him. He's hit 10 of his 11 home runs off of right-handed pitching. Guthrie's given up 12 of his 13 home runs to left-handed batters and 9 home runs on the road. He doesn't have the protection of Kauffman Stadium today. So Dunn's a guy, Jeff always says if you can find a cheap guy that you think can hit a home run, it doesn't much matter what else he does. Dunn's sort of an all-or-nothing guy, so obviously he's either going to give you a home run or he's going to strike out a ton. I think he can hit a home run in this game against Guthrie. What are you thinking at first base?
Well, I do like Ortiz as someone who I'm considering. I like the price as well. Probably my top choice today at first base, and I'm not crazy about any of them again, so I'll avoid the real high-priced guys. I'd probably go with Victor Martinez tonight. Gibson is pitching tonight on the road at Detroit. Gibson is a kind of your stereotypical right-hander. He's good against righties. He's not good against lefties. Detroit doesn't have a lot of pop from the left side of the plate, but Victor Martinez is one of them who does have that kind of pop. Again, I look at similar to when I gave you Pierzynski. Victor Martinez is a guy that could homer in this kind of matchup. His price is decent. I'm going to give him the edge over Ortiz right now.
Okay, and then moving over to second base, obviously, it almost goes without saying, if you have a right-handed pitcher on the mound and a weak catcher behind the plate, I'm going to like D. Gordon. Gordon hits 309 against righties, and Miguel Montero is one of the worst defensive catchers, so I like his ability to get on and steal some bases. And then another place to look is going to be Milwaukee. Now, this is going to depend on who's in the lineup, and whoever's in the lineup I do like. You look at Jeanette first. Bailey's given up a 328 batting average to lefties. Jeanette is hitting 311 against righties. He's 6 for 15 against Bailey. If he's in the lineup hitting near the top, he's a good play. And if Weeks is in the lineup, he's got a really good history against Bailey. He's hitting 519 with 2 home runs against Bailey. He's hitting 342 against righties. So I think whoever's in the lineup there for Milwaukee is a good play today. What are you thinking?
Well, I love the second baseman tonight. There are 3 of them who I think are stand out. You didn't mention any of them.
None of the 3 that I mentioned.
Well, I mean, not that they were bad options, but I just think these 3 stand. I mean, 2 of them I'm considering for my home run pick, which is you talk about being bold. Who would pick a second baseman as their home run pick. But, the 2 that I think have a chance to hit homers tonight, one is Dozier of Minnesota. Smiley's terrible against right-handed hitters, 300 average, 7 home runs given up against righties. Dozier for a second baseman's got good power. It's a lot of homers against lefties. And the guy who I think my preference would be, guy who's heating up right now, is Cano. I mean, Cano has been a home run hitter in the past, hasn't been a big home run hitter so far this year, but I think he's heating up right now. He's going up against Tepesh tonight, who I think is about as weak as any pitcher going. He gives up a 318 average against left-handed hitters, and I think Cano's got a chance to hit a homer in this game tonight. I'd even consider Altuve tonight of Houston. They're going up against Cobb. Cobb, 303 batting average against right-handed hitters. So Altuve's a guy to consider, and he's been a hot hitter. So I think all 3 of them are very strong. I probably give Dozier a slight edge overall, but something tells me Cano is going to hit one tonight. And he's hot. I think he's getting to that point where he's going to start hitting homers now. I think this is a good matchup for him. So I'm going to consider playing two second basemen tonight, and I'd say slight edge to Cano.
All right, if you make a bold home run pick, then I'll make a bold home run pick. All right, we'll make it a deal.
Oh yeah, right.
Note on.
I gave you Carter last night. That's a bold pick.
That was a bold one, yeah. Okay. Real quick note on Altuve. He left last night's game after getting hit by a pitch on the hand. Double check to make sure he's in the lineup tonight before putting him in. Third base, who you got for me?
Well, I think the obvious play at third base is Donaldson. Now he hasn't been hitting well. But the A's had the day off yesterday. They really needed it. I think Donaldson, who didn't start the day before, so he's basically had 2 days off, although he did play some in that game. They go up against Phelps tonight. Phelps got a 339 average against right-handers. He's a right-hander who doesn't get righties out. I think this is a very good matchup for some of the A's right-handed hitters, which is rare because they're such a big platoon team. I think Holt, as a very cheap still lefty hitter against Masterson, is a guy you've got to consider. But I've got money to spend. I'm going to probably spend it on Donaldson here.
Yeah, I like that call on Donaldson. I was looking at Phelps, and I was like, all right, got a weak righty, fire up your A's lefties, Brandon Moss and whatnot. But Phelps actually has been more effective against lefties than against righties, so I didn't put Moss in my lineup today. Third base, I like Holt hitting 361 at home, 315 versus righties. He's hitting 378 in the month of June, and like you said, they dropped Masterson tonight. He's got a 5.35 ERA on the road. The other way I would go in that game would be on the other side is Lonnie Chisenhall. He's hitting 371 against righties this season, hitting 432 on the road. He's on fire right now, 18 for his last 35. Facing Lackey, who's so-so. He's given up a 275 batting average at home. I think both those guys in that game are good plays. Now move over to shortstop. This is where I really struggled to find a good play. You got something good for me here?
Well, I think so. First off, I think some of the obvious choices that we've had, you could make a case for them tonight as well. Tulowitzki, who hasn't been hitting that great, but he goes to San Francisco tonight to face Lincecum. Lincecum has given up 7 homers already to right-handed hitters. The ball's flying out of AT&T Park pretty good. I'm not going to pay that big price on him, but he's someone who wouldn't be a terrible choice. I think Hanley Ramirez, same way. You got Anderson pitching tonight for Arizona. You talk about a guy who's got a odd splits. I mean, a right-hander, you got a 130 average against lefties, but 313 against righties. I think you're going to want some Dodger righties in there. Hanley Ramirez is certainly an option there. But there's Santana of Minnesota is red hot right now. He's on fire. He's a right-handed hitter. Smiley, I already mentioned this before, doesn't get righties out very well. He's a cheap price guy who's got he's got the best stats going right now, at least recent stats among all the shortstops. I've got to go with him. I got to play him and save the money.
I think Santana actually may be the call of the day. What scared me off of Tulowitzki was he doesn't have great career numbers against Lincecum. He's faced him 55 times, 2 home runs, hitting 255. Now, a lot of that might have been the old Tim Lincecum, but that was enough to scare me off of him. Reyes as well. Jimenez, it hasn't been great, but he's been pretty good against lefties, so I couldn't really find much to go with. I think Santana's probably the best call. The other guy you can consider is I wanted to get a few right-handed Marlins in my lineup. Hechavarria, decent low price guy. He's hitting 313 against lefties and 301 at home. So I think they're facing Locke today of the Pirates, who's not very good. So I think that makes a good play as well. But take Dave's advice. Santana is the call today. And then jumping right from there into the outfield, sticking with that, I think Stanton was the other guy I was considering. He's more of the more obvious home run pick today. This is the kind of matchup where you really want to pay up for him, facing a weak lefty at home. He's hitting 354 with 3 home runs and 48 at bats against lefties, hitting 308 with 10 home runs and 120 at bats at home. Again, those are the splits you look for Stanton. And then Bautista, I want to go after Jimenez a bit. Bautista's good on the road, good versus righties, and the Blue Jays offense has sort of slowed down the last few games. I think they're going to break out, and I think this is the perfect opportunity against Jimenez for them to break out. In the lower price, Yelich, another Marlin who hits lefties well. He's hitting 315 against lefties. I think Dickerson is a really big play tonight for a low-end guy, hitting 359 against righties. He's been good even away from Coors Field, hitting 321 with 5 home runs. And he's hitting well lately. He's 351 in June. So Dickerson's another way you can go. Dave, plenty of stuff left. Who else do you like?
Well, first off, I'm scratching my head about something. Who's this weak left-hander that Stanton's going up against?
Locke. Jeff Locke from the Pirates?
Jeff Locke is a weak left-hander? Come on. He's a very good left-hander coming off a great performance, coming off an injury. He's 29th on the salary chart tonight. He's a guy certainly worth considering. Just a guy who when he gets back to form, oh, come on,
Is he back to form right now?
He's a top 10 left-hander in the National League, Jeff Locke.
Who? What?
Jeff Locke is he's a great young prospect.
He's got a 5-something ERA right now.
Come on, right? I see an 0.57 WHIP this season.
Oh man. Okay.
I don't know. Tough pick there. Go ahead. I encourage you to. I'll tell you what. You made me a deal before. You're going to go with a long shot, sleeper home run pick. I'll let you have Stanton.
You prefer Stanton over Dunn?
Yeah, go ahead and take Stanton over. You don't have to go with a long shot guy. Okay. And my outfielders. There are a couple, there's 2 or 3 that I'm considering for my home run pick. Kind of like you, they're more obvious plays than if I went with Cano. Cespedes is red hot right now. He's facing, I mentioned that some of these pitchers tonight, right-handers who have had struggled against right-handers, Phelps is one of them, 339 batting average against. I think Cespedes is hot offensively and defensively. He's got a chance to hit a homer in this game. Certainly Willingham is a big home run possibility tonight against Smiley. Willingham crushes left-handers. Smiley, allows a lot of homers to right-handed hitters. I think he's a guy you'd want in your lineup. And I mentioned, the Dodger right-handed hitters. Kemp is red hot right now. Puig is not particularly hot, but they're both right-handed hitters tonight going up against Anderson, who's got this 313 average against right-handed hitters. So I think all 4 of those guys, 4 big right-handed hitters, 3 of them are actually facing right-handers. I think they all have a chance to have big games. And I'm going to have money to spend in the outfield, so I think I can get 3 of them in there, maybe even a 4th as my utility player. Springer is a guy who I also like tonight, and same thing with him. Cobb's got a 303 batting average against right-handers. There's another righty-righty matchup that you might not seem obvious, but Cobb has struggled on the road as well. So, between those 5 guys, I think I'm going to find 3, maybe 4 of them to go with, maybe even come away with a home run choice.
All right. Dave has got a surprise home run choice that he's not going to let us in on yet. All right, that wraps it up for all the positions. We'll go ahead and give you our final word. Again, 4 pitchers to choose from tonight. I think you can do it any way you like. I would go with 1 high-priced and 1 low-priced guy, although you could go with Cologne and McHugh. I would probably go with Kershaw and McHugh. Again, I don't think there's really any wrong answers there. I don't think that's where the game will be won or lost. Good spots on the infield. I think Adam Dunn is a standout play for a tournament. If you're trying to find a guy who's going to hit a home run, I think he's a great call. Check the Milwaukee lineup, see who's in at second base. Jeanette or Weeks, hopefully one of them is hitting near the top of the order, and that's going to be a good play for you. And then in the outfield, Stanton, Bautista, Dickerson are probably the top plays of the day for me. Dave, what do you think? Final word.
Well, I'm going to give you my home run selection now. I've made my decision.
The suspense is killing me.
I'm going to go with Willingham as my home run selection tonight against Smiley. As I mentioned before, I strongly suggest you do your lineup first and then decide your pitchers afterward because there's a good assortment of pitchers. I'm going to try to find a way to get Victor Martinez and Cano and Donaldson all in my infield and still give you an outfield of probably Cespedes, Willingham, and Kemp. Maybe throw Puig in there as my utility. That's a lot of money to spend, so I'm probably not going to end up with either of the high-priced pitchers. But as I mentioned before, I got no problem with that. Cologne at home against San Diego, McHugh at home against Tampa, arguably the two worst offenses going right now, and two pitchers who are going very well. So I got no problem stacking my lineup with big offense and middleweight pitchers tonight. I think that's the way to go.
All right, that wraps us up for today. Dave has Willingham. I have Adam Dunn. We're now tied up in the home run chase. I believe we have 13 home runs apiece on the year. We will be back tomorrow. In the meantime, you can follow us on Twitter at PlayFanmouth, and you can check out our full rankings at blog.fanmouth.com. Thanks a lot.